Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or depending on what time you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Black Mirror Season 7 has come and gone. Well, that is if you're like me and you've already binged the entire season. Now, before I go into my episode list, I do want to give a spoiler alert, as this may be potential spoilers for each episode of Season 7. Now, keep in mind this list is completely subjective. This is my favorites from worst to best. I'm sure everybody has their own individual list, because each episode is unique with its own specific tone. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with my list, starting with number 6. Plaything. So this one is set in a near-future London. An eccentric murder suspect is linked to an unusual video game from the 1990s, a game populated by cute, evolving artificial life forms. So this episode was a bit of a soft follow-up to Bandersnatch, the special that came out, the interactive choose-your-own-adventure style that they did, which I thought was unique, but I remember only doing it like once or twice when it came out, and then I kind of never did it again. I should maybe give it another shot. Anyways, in Plaything, we do see a couple of familiar faces from Bandersnatch, including Will Poulter, who does come back. Unfortunately, it's a pretty small cameo, so if you were looking forward to this big story revolving around his character, you're not really going to get that. Ultimately, I just thought this episode was very rushed, very discombobulated. A season of Black Mirror usually is good for one stinker. For me, this is that stinker. Now, this is actually the only episode of the 6 that I truly did not like. Everything else above this one, I actually enjoyed in some capacity, whether it was one more than the other. I may need to revisit it down the road and give it a second shot, but ultimately I thought Plaything was the worst episode of Black Mirror Season 7. Going into number 5, Bete Noir. Confectionery whiz kid Maria is unnerved when her former schoolmate Verite joins the company she works at, because there's something altogether odd about Verite, something only Maria seems to notice. Okay, so this was the second episode of Black Mirror. I actually watched the first 2 episodes back to back when I started watching the season. This episode, I was into it for the most part. It had a nice mystery going for it that kept you guessing, but a pretty lackluster payoff. The reveal just didn't really hook me the way I wanted it to. I still thought overall it was a pretty interesting episode, and I really liked the design they went, where we see like every day throughout the week, and even like the little titles for each day had this kind of like overlaying horror score to it, which I thought that was really cool. But I would say ultimately this one was still pretty solid as a Black Mirror episode, and for some people maybe that ending really did work for them. For me, it just didn't. Okay, moving on to number 4, Hotel Reverie. A high-tech, unusually immersive remake of a vintage British film sends Hollywood's A-list star Brandy Friday into another dimension where she must stick to the script if she ever wants to make it home. For me personally, I love movies, or TV shows I guess in this case, about making movies. And of course, it being Black Mirror, they're going to go one step further with the technology. And I thought it was really fascinating, the whole idea of making a movie without cameras, without lights. Basically, you're just making an entire movie in a computer. This one also has maybe one of the better commentaries on modern day technology, because we do see it right now in the film industry. The whole AI making movies without even filming somebody. There's a commentary on doing remakes, but also there's a commentary about, and this is probably the biggest one of the episode, the whole idea of bringing a dead actor back to life and putting them in movies again. I think that's what this episode was going for. We saw it with like The Flash with Christopher Reeve. We saw it with Rogue One, Peter Cushing's character from the original Star Wars. I love the visual look of it when she's in there and the people are frozen. And of course, the ending really worked for me. I say where this one ultimately falls a little short and why it's not higher on the list. It's a little long. It's actually the second longest episode of the season. Moving on to number 3, Eulogy. An isolated man is introduced to a groundbreaking system that allows its users to literally step inside old photographs, stirring powerful emotions in the process. My top 3 at this point definitely stand out more than the bottom 3. The problem was just picking what order I wanted them to go in, because at this point, I thought these last 3 episodes were phenomenal. Where to begin with Eulogy? This one really hooked me right away. First off, Paul Giamatti. I think he's one of the best actors working right now, and I think he's so underrated as an actor. So what this one ultimately is about, kind of like Hotel Reverie, it is a love story, but it's a different take on a love story. It's about memories, which I love. I love the idea of like looking at old memories. The visual feel of this is probably the best of the entire season. We see Paul Giamatti's character go into photographs, and he's like in the photograph looking around, and we see different angles. I just thought that was so cool, and I absolutely loved it. And ultimately, the story is what really hooked me. It's about an older guy who realizes that the love of his life is gone, and he looks back and thinks what could have been. This is probably the episode I could relate to the most. If you ever had somebody in your life that you were in love with and it ultimately didn't work out, this is going to be the episode that probably pulls at your heartstrings the most. And Paul Giamatti probably gives one of the best performances in a Black Mirror episode, period. I mean, in other seasons, this easily could have been my number one, but for right now, it's going to be my number 3. Number 2, USS Callister Into Infinity. Robert Bailey is dead, but now the crew of the USS Callister, led by Captain Nanette Cole, are stranded in an infinite virtual universe, fighting for survival against 30 million players. Probably in the entire Black Mirror library, this one is the most cinematic. If they had a budget for this season, I would say a chunk of it went to this episode because visually it is incredible. This is Black Mirror doing a blockbuster. I wish I could be watching this on the big screen because I feel like my television just didn't do it justice. And I don't know, this one just had me really engaged. The performances were amazing. The visual effects were so good. And the way that it ends, I could see them maybe trying to do one more. Hey, make a trilogy out of it. Number 1, Common People. When a medical emergency leaves school teacher Amanda fighting for her life, her desperate husband Mike signs her up for Rivermind, a high-tech system that will keep her alive. You want your first episode to really hook people, to keep them watching throughout, and man, this episode absolutely does this. Probably the thing that this episode does the best is the commentary about technology. There's 2 big things about it. Subscriptions, and how everything is becoming subscription-based, with ads and everything, and the way that they did that was brilliant. There's also the commentary about e-begging. So we kind of see this with like TikTok or YouTube Live. People are on there and they're doing like a live stream and they're basically one way or another begging for money. And that's what we see with our main male character played by Chris O'Dowd. He joins up for this fictional site called Dumb Dummies, where he basically does stuff for money. And the reason why this one is number 1 on my list is because it felt like the most Black Mirror episode. When you think of Black Mirror, you think of this like bleak kind of ending. Technology that might be evolving and you think it's better for mankind actually is harming us. The ending will be a gut punch to you. So I have to put Common People as number 1 on my list. It's so relatable in today's age. Probably one of the better seasons we've seen in a while, maybe since season 3 or 4. And I look forward to more Black Mirror, man. I hope Charlie Brooker can keep it going. I'm sure these are probably pretty energy draining episodes to make because he pretty much writes or co-writes every episode. But if he can still make relatable material like he did with Common People and even these other episodes, then please keep it going. Like Netflix, I will continue to keep my membership if you can please keep making Black Mirror episodes. But anyways, that is just my ranking. If anybody else has watched it, what is your ranking of the episodes? Is Plaything the worst episode of the season, or do you think it actually was really, really good? Do you have Common People number 1? Do you have it towards the bottom? Anyways, I need to turn my phone off. I need to go into my computer and do some editing. So yes, I will be using my technology to get this on the internet, and hopefully the technology doesn't work against me. All right.
See you, chump.